Hey, welcome back. Today, we're jumping into one of the biggest financial stories happening in Europe right now. We're talking about Bulgaria's confirmed, but wow, very contentious switch over to the euro.
But before we get into all things Bulgaria, I've got a quick question for you. And honestly, it's a surprisingly tough one for a lot of people. The last country to adopt the euro. That was Croatia back in 2023. And now, it looks like the club is about to get a brand new member.
Okay, so let's get right into it. On January 1st, Bulgaria is set to say goodbye to its national currency, the lev, and officially adopt the euro. This is a huge deal. It'll make Bulgaria the 21st country in the currency bloc, and it brings the total number of Europeans using the single currency to well over 350 million people.
To really get our heads around this story, we're going to walk through 4 key sections. First, we'll look at why this switch was pretty much inevitable. Then, we'll dive into why the nation is so deeply divided over it. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the practical playbook for how this change will actually happen. And finally, we'll ask what's next for Bulgaria.
So, first up, why is this happening now? Well, the thing is, for most countries in the European Union, adopting the euro isn't really a choice. It's actually a requirement that's baked right into their membership treaty. Now, there is a big exception. Denmark has a special opt-out, but pretty much every other EU member is obligated to join the single currency once they meet all the economic criteria.
And you know, joining the Eurozone is about so much more than just swapping out your banknotes. It's about getting a seat at the table. As you can see here, membership means Bulgaria gets a spot on the governing council of the European Central Bank. That's the institution that sets monetary policy for the entire bloc. So this is a massive step towards deeper financial and political integration with the rest of Europe.
But here's where it gets really interesting. While the government and the EU pretty much see this as a done deal, the Bulgarian people, they are far from united. In fact, the country is facing this huge social and political divide over this very issue.
And when I say divided, I mean, wow. Just look at this. Recent polls show the country is split almost perfectly down the middle. 50% in favor, 50% against. This isn't just some minor disagreement. It is a deep, deep rift running right through the heart of the nation.
In this debate, it touches on everything. I mean, everything from hard economics to national identity. On one side, you have the supporters, right? They're pointing to things like smoother business, more stability. But on the other side, you've got these really deep-seated fears about price hikes, a loss of financial independence, and the symbolic loss of their national currency, the lev.
So on one side, you hear from people like Natalia Gajiva, who's a winery owner. For her, and for a lot of other business folks, the euro is just a practical step forward. It makes trade simpler, gets rid of currency risk, and makes getting that EU funding way easier.
But then, on the flip side, you have voices like this protester in Sofia. For so many citizens, this is all about sovereignty and identity. There's this genuine fear that handing over control of the country's money to Brussels means giving up the power to decide their own future.
But, regardless of this fierce debate, the train has already left the station. The Bulgarian government has put a detailed law in place that outlines exactly how this massive change is going to happen. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, the practical playbook.
Okay, this timeline breaks it all down. It kicks off with what's called a dual pricing period. For over a year, all the shops have to show prices in both lev and euros, just to help people get used to the new numbers. Then, on January 1st, the big day, a 1-month dual circulation period starts where you can actually pay with either currency. And then, a month after that, the lev is officially history.
So what about all that cash people have tucked away? Well, for the first 6 months, you can exchange it for free at any bank or post office. Simple enough. After that, yeah, commercial banks might start charging a fee. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. The Bulgarian National Bank is legally required to exchange old lev notes and coins for euros for free with no time limit. I mean, forever.
The playbook also has some really key rules to try and make this whole thing as smooth as possible. Got a bank account in lev? It'll switch to euros automatically, and it won't cost you a thing. And here's a clever one. To get the new currency out there, if you pay with lev during that first month, shops have to give you your change back in euros. And crucially, the law has measures built in to protect people from businesses trying to unfairly hike up prices.
But there's one little detail, one specific protection tucked into the law that I find absolutely fascinating. When it comes to things like salaries, pensions, and social benefits, the conversion rule is different. Instead of just normal rounding, any amount that ends up with a fraction of a euro cent has to be rounded up to the next whole cent. It's a small thing, sure, but it's a guarantee that nobody's income gets smaller, not even by a fraction of a penny, just because of the switch.
So, we've seen the political decision, we've seen the fiery public debate, and we've walked through the detailed practical plan. But what does the future actually hold for Bulgaria as it takes this absolutely monumental step?
You know, at the end of the day, this is what it all comes down to. The technical part, it's pretty much done. The laws are written, the currency is going to change. But the real challenge, the much bigger challenge, is what happens next. Bridging this deep social divide in a nation that's split 50-50, that is a far greater task than just printing new money.
And that leaves us with one final big question. The money in people's wallets is about to be converted, that's a fact. But for a nation so deeply divided on the issue, you have to wonder, has the real conversion, the one for hearts and minds, only just begun? Thanks for tuning in.